Oh, we're live. I didn't know we were live yet. I think we got to change the background though, so it's not like we're like really live yet. We're just kind of warming up. We gotta press a few buttons. Hey, Mom, say hi to Nick. Yeah. Okay, he's got it now. He's got it. He did it. Look at that. Awesome. We are live. Are we good? All right. Okay. I can hear it. I've got audio now. Welcome. Live stream Sunday around the world and around the web. Beyond the Block. Matty Satz checking in with another Bitcoin live production. Already the content this morning. I want to give a shout out to my friends Gingerly, and they had a really great interview with Jack Ben Smith. Did I get that right? Jack Ben Smith from the Stacks community. And he had a really great story, great message. And again, really great content as well. And don't forget, more great stuff coming up here. I'm just looking at the messages I got coming. Oh, hey, Paul. Hey, thanks for joining us. It's so cool to see comments and interaction. And this is what makes, I think, what we do here at Bitcoin Live on all the shows across the board really cool. It's interactive, it's engaging, and it's part of the whole live stream. And again, our good friend, the crypto curator, Paul McNeil, does two shows. He alternates every other week. He does Bitcoin is Freedom and Bitcoin is Politics. And man, it was a banger show this week. High value, fire alpha, and Paul does a great job curating the news and explaining and informing and educating folks in a really great way. So I would give a shout out and highly recommend you follow Paul McNeil, crypto curator. Bitcoin is Freedom and Bitcoin and Politics, Thursdays, 8 p.m. Central Eastern Time. All right, before we get into the official open of the show and all that hoo-ha and whatnot, what the hell happened in Denver? I thought it was a cringe fest, but I guess it was ethDenver. In case you missed it, here's what happened at ethDenver. What? Oh my gosh. No, make it stop. Oh. What is going on? Oh my gosh, really? This is why people don't get into the space.
It goes, not your keys, not your
Oh no, make it stop. Make it stop.
So take heed of the one and only call of the buffer.
Oh my gosh. All right, hit the show open. I got to get that out of my mouth, please. Nick, guess. Are here live stream Sunday, Bitcoin Live Productions, Matt Case. And again, shout out to the entire Bitcoin Live team and family from Purple Suede, Style Pigeon, Gingerly, Bitcoin Live Productions, and my man Paul McNeil, the crypto curator. Man, I love you all. Thank you so much for allowing me to be on the team and just be here on live stream Sundays, connecting with you around the world and around the web. Today we are going to be talking about China. Yeah, that's right, China. Did I say it right? But anyways, we're going to be talking about China today. There's been some big hearings this past week in D.C. They were talking about China, national security, et cetera, et cetera. So we will be getting into a documentary, a little 5-minute informational kind of highlighting the moves that China has made over the past, 10 years or so to kind of really reposition themselves and become a major threat to the West. So we will look at that. We got some expert testimony from the Hill as well. We will be sharing. And all sorts of other comments, and we will get your comments as well on the China situation and the moves that they plan to make to bring down the U.S. hedge money. But before we do that, we will get into. We asked you on the Twitter, on the Bird app, the other day, some of the biggest FUD surrounding Bitcoin. We asked folks to weigh in, and I think a lot of folks kind of know some of the FUD out there. But before we get into the China topic today, let's transition into the 5 pieces of FUD.
That is some serious fucking FUD.
That's that's our FUD. That's our serious fucking FUD piece. All right, 5 pieces of FUD. Number 1. Only drug dealers use Bitcoin. Obviously, we know that's not true. We know that drug dealers have used the dollar for so many years. We know that Bitcoin is not used by drug dealers. It's used actually by institutions and more, and folks are investing in it. So obviously, Bitcoin used by drug dealers is some serious FUD. Now, they still are, Paul. I just saw an article the other day. Number 2, Bitcoin is backed by nothing. Bitcoin is backed by nothing. And what do we say to that? We know that is what? It's some serious fucking FUD. That's what it is. It's some serious fucking FUD. Bitcoin is backed by nothing. Kind of like the US dollar is backed by nothing, right? And I think we know that the gold reserve was ended back in 1971. So that kind of put an end to the dollar really being backed by anything. Even the petrodollar has now kind of gone by the wayside, and we're seeing moves to move away from that. So FUD number 2, that is some serious fucking FUD. Okay,
That is some serious fucking FUD.
Okay, number 3, Bitcoin uses too much energy. Oh, it uses too much energy, and it's bad. It's bad for the planet. It's going to boil the oceans, and it's bad, 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 bad. Bitcoin is bad for the environment, and I think we know the response that most of us would say to that, wouldn't we? That would be Bitcoin.
That is some serious fucking FUD.
There we go. See, now we're getting the game. Now we're getting the game after every time. Yeah, okay. Number 4, when it comes to Bitcoin FUD. Yes, Paul is right. The whole ESG thing is ridiculous. And you're right. The Bitcoin Mining Council does display that. This is why he's the curator. He comes through with like the solid facts. I just come through with frosting. He comes through with cake. Number 4 on the list of Bitcoin FUD. Nobody uses it for transactions. Yeah, that's really not true. And what do we say to that when people say nobody uses it for transactions?
That is some serious fucking FUD.
You're right. Have you just look at El Salvador? Look at Lightning Beach. Look at the folks that are down there already. Just this week on Crypto Twitter, we've seen so many videos of folks buying coffee using Lightning, going doop and boop, and yeah. So it's not only just the U.S., but we're talking the Lightning Network and Paul again with some great comments. Oh, maybe not in the U.S., but yes, right, in other countries they do, and that's what I'm talking about, Paul. Though, is we've seen the videos already, like in Costa Rica, El Salvador, around the world, where folks are already, buying milk and eggs. Who was that really rich dude that like bought all the eggs with Bitcoin this week on Twitter? Somebody was showing that video today or the other day. I was like, dude, that guy's got a flex buying eggs with Bitcoin. Okay. Finally, number 5 in our list of Bitcoin FUD. This one is a very popular one that everybody's favorite economist, Nouriel Roubini, loves to say, that Bitcoin is a bubble. Yes. Well, what do we say to Nouriel Roubini and folks who say Bitcoin is a bubble?
That is some serious fucking FUD.
That is some serious fucking FUD. Because if it was a booble, and I'm sorry, we actually, to do Nouriel justice, it's a booble. Because I believe he says it's a booble. I love his accent. That's the one thing I do like about Nouriel Roubini. His accent is dope. I mean, it's fire. I wish I could talk like Nouriel Roubini in a booble. It is not a booble. But if you look at Bitcoin, look at just from 2008 to now, does that look like a bubble? No, it goes up and to the left, up and to the left. I mean, I would think that a world-renowned, economist with more degrees than Fahrenheit, like you, Mr. Booble, right? It's the mother of all bubbles. You're right, Paul. It is. It's a big old bubble, like Hubba Bubba. It's bubblicious. That's what it is. All right. We're going to blow this bubble up all the way to 100K. I don't know when. I'm not on the 100K hype train, but I do believe that we will get there. All right. So those are the 5 biggest pieces of FUD. Let me bring in Nick Diamond Jr., our producer. Mr. Diamond, sir. Let me ask you. You're on top of a lot of this stuff. What is some of the FUD that you have heard? Your European FUD, and is European FUD different than American FUD? Is it metric? Do you drive it on the other side of the road with that FUD? What is the FUD that you hear in Europe?
The FUD is more or less the same, but we do have a better flushing system over here.
Okay.
But the FUD that I recently heard was that Tether uses fraudulent papers.
That seems like that's almost kind of recycled FUD, though, isn't it?
Yeah, you can recycle paper. That's probably also what Tether is.
Oh, he's got jokes. Oh man, hey, I'm just moving some stuff over here on the stuff. I'm moving stuff on the stuff. That makes so much sense, doesn't it? But continue on with the Tether FUD, please.
Yeah, so the Washington Journal, they did a piece on Tether, and they made some claims about that not all of their collateral is fully backed, or that the papers are not, up to, not right. So, but it's just, I think it seems a little bit flimsy because if they had more evidence, I think they would have presented it. So it is, we will see how it will develop. But, before the show started, you already mentioned that there's a lot of Tether FUD that often comes back. I mean, it's very old. It
be, Paul making reference to it there in the comments too. Yeah.
But that should be in your top 5, like Tether.
Yeah, Tether FUD. That's true. I mean, it really should be. And there are folks we were talking about this that I respect in this industry, in this space, that are smarter and wiser and have a closer hands-on perspective to this, and they are staunch supporters of Tether. They are strong backers of Tether and what's going on over there, and Paulo, their friends, and so I kind of have to defer to some of those folks that I respect, that I think are smarter than me. It's always been, since 2017, since I've been in the space, there's always been FUD around Tether. Whether it's true, whether it's not, I don't know. But the one thing I do know: be smart, be safe, stack sats and hodl, and you're golden, baby.
Definitely. And I'm a big Chico crypto fan, and he's been on Tether since the start. And I don't know what to think, right? Like you said, there's many more smarter people than I am. I think if Tether would go down, that would be a problem.
Yeah, so that would be a big problem. But I think and I want to give a tip of the hat to the crypto curator in his show, Bitcoin is Freedom and Bitcoin is Politics. And he did a remarkable job on Thursday outlining this, looking at the regulation. It's not Bitcoin, it's crypto. And that's what, you really have to look at. And again, Paul does a really magnificent job of spelling this out, citing case by case, state by state, country by country, around the world and around the web, how these rules and regulations are being put forth by people in power to target specifically altcoins and looks like stable coins. So again, another plug for the crypto curator, Bitcoin is Freedom and Bitcoin is Politics, man, on the Bitcoin Live Productions.
His show was very comprehensive and very detailed. He did an excellent job.
It's 60 minutes of your time, man, that you will learn, you will come out better. And you can watch it on the YouTube. You can stream it anytime. So again, good stuff. All right, we're going on here around the world and around the web, Beyond the Block live stream Sunday. Nick Diamond Jr., our producer, Bitcoin Live Productions, Matty Sachs, Matt Case. We are talking about China. Big hearings in DC this week, Nick, regarding China. We've heard from lawmakers this week. We will be getting into our feature little mini documentary that I put together, just kind of looking at the moves China has made over the last 10 years, politically, economically, socially, and what that means for the West, and really attempting to bring down the U.S. hegemony. But before we do that, though, I wanted to get your thoughts on China as well. So can we transition into the China thing? Do we have the little China logo thing, or can we do a little cool video? Do a cool fast, dude. Producer Nick with the video stuff and the buttons and the. Yeah.
To be honest, that's one of the fun things of your show, that I can do all these things, which is, for the people watching, right, the transitions are not as smooth yet because it's sort of new territory.
Yeah, we're working it out, It's only episode number 2. It's fun. This is cool, though. You do a great job. So, really quick, before we hear from like experts and so-called experts, we're continuing this dialogue here on Live Stream Sunday Beyond the Block. What are your thoughts about China, just in general, overall?
Well, first of all, China is, of course, not a very pleasant country as far as I can see from the outside. Maybe it's very nice inside. I don't know. But they are trying to sort of break away from the current fiat system, which is dollar-based, right? So they're doing everything they can to sort of decouple.
Yeah. And shout out to Ken. Ken's logs in the room. Hey, Ken. Give him a follow as well on the crypto Twitter, a good friend and family member out here in the Bitcoin crypto community. Shout out to you, brother. Yeah, we're talking China, we're talking crypto, we're talking CBDCs. Your thoughts on the CBDC for China, Nick?
Yeah, so it's part of their Belt and Road Initiative program, right? So the way that they expand Chinese influence is through sort of debt-based politics, and that's also sort of connected to the Belt and Road Initiative, and the CBDC is a big part of that program. So you can't. They are interlocked, as I see it.
Yeah, and I believe that as I was looking at doing some research here, actually for the first time ever, the People's Bank of China has included in its central bank its CBDC in its official currency reports for the first time just this year in January of 2023. And they've been rolling it out in over 15 provinces, testing it, and it's been called Project Cedar, but they call it a DCEP, Digital Currency Electronic Payment. And I'm sure that the curator, Paul McNeil's probably got a lot more on his website. You can find out about that. And he's a great website as well.
I always call it DCEP, right? Because
DCEP. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
They really have to work on those names. They need a new marketing campaign, right? Because
I know too many crypto acronyms for me to keep track of. And here's something that I wanted that as I was going through this that I didn't know. We hear talk about a yuan and the digital yuan, but there's also the Chinese renminbi, and you might hear that banted about. And for me, I guess the best way that I could explain it for folks in the way that I understood it was that it's like Bitcoin and Satoshis. Okay. We have Bitcoin. We love Bitcoin, one whole Bitcoin, but Satoshis make up the smaller part. And that's the units that we're basically kind of almost transacting in daily, unless you're like Michael Saylor and, then you're dealing in lots of Bitcoins. But the renminbi is the overall currency and the yuan is the smaller unit of measure that folks kind of, are dealing with in a daily settlement kind of purpose. So I think that's really a low value kind of comparison of how to relate the renminbi and the yuan to like maybe a Bitcoin and a sat. So that's how I've come to understand it. Your thought on that?
Well, I think that's more or less right. As far as I understand it too, right? The first time I heard it was kind of, I was kind of confused about it. So, and also you got the yen and the yuan, like the first time you sort of start going through all those foreign currencies, you're sort of like, okay. You have to keep them apart. So, but yeah.
Absolutely. Let's see. We get back to our list here. Let me put on some tunes as we roll this in the back. So there were lots of Chinese experts on China testifying on Capitol Hill this week. And I wanted to share some of them. More gas. More gas. I love the comments coming in here. So some of the comments, Nick, you got that first one there. Let's roll the first comment from the hearings in China this week. Or in the U.S. about China, I should say.
Oh, yeah, you can roll it. On your side.
I can roll it. Yeah, okay, I can roll it.
The next year or two is the window that Chinese would look to try.
Oh, you clicked it away.
Sorry. I'm still figuring it out. There we go.
Yes. There we go.
Two, that a conflict there would be of a scale that I don't think anybody in this nation realizes. What would be the cost if we failed to deter the CCP?
We are in a difficult position because we have been underinvested in modernization for quite a long amount of time. What has happened is the People's Liberation Army studied us. And instead of trying to recreate some of our exquisite capabilities, they developed countermeasures, tiered and layered air defense, offensive cyber capabilities, counter-satellite capabilities, long-range precision fires. And so what they have done is try to figure out how to take apart what they saw as their differential advantages. I think what Xi Jinping sees is a fleeting window of opportunity, an opportunity to move while he perceives weakness in the United States. It's worth going back and reading the joint statement between Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin on the eve of the Beijing Olympics. The message is, hey, United States, West, free world, you're over. It's a time for a new era of international relations, and we're in charge now.
That's pretty eye-opening and pretty compelling testimony right there from McMasters. I just kind of want to blow through some more of these clips that we have. I think they're very informative and very telling. Again, they were at night, so a lot of folks probably didn't get a chance to watch them because they were probably watching AGT All-Stars, the finale, which I know I was, and then I went back and DVR'd this. So here's another one I think that's pretty compelling.
There it comes. You have to unclick it and then you can reload it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've got to unclick it. Okay, hold on.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So we're learning on the job, right?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, that's how we started. Sort of just messing around.
Oh, wait a second. Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm figuring it out. You know, it's live stream. That's how we do it. You know.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about live, right? It's uncensored.
Yeah. Here we go. There we go.
The economic policies of the Chinese Communist Party represent a clear and present danger to the American worker, our innovation base, and our national security. For decades, the CCP has telegraphed its intentions with 5-year plans, the Made in China 2025 program, military-civil fusion, and the Belt and Road Initiative. Its goals to dominate key industries, set global standards, seek opportunity from crisis, and weaken competitors. The CCP has attracted American investment to do this. The CCP also created an impossibly cheap China price that masks the true cost of production. It made China the world's factory floor. Trillions in subsidies, currency manipulation, exploiting workers and the environment, even using forced labor. Lax safety standards that harmed our consumers. Meanwhile, Chinese firms must support the military ambitions of the People's Liberation Army through the CCP's fusion strategy. No business is untainted. While CCP policies have been destructive, our own policies in some cases have made matters worse. Bringing China into the World Trade System in 2000 seemed like a slam dunk, but instead became a spectacular failure of conventional wisdom and elite opinion.
Oh man, that's some harsh testimony right there, man. Let's go number 3.
I think the other big lesson that we've been talking about, and certainly Mr. Paul talked about, is it's a big mistake to give an authoritarian regime coercive power over your economy. Germany learned that the hard way in the energy sector, and Europe did broadly in connection with the Kremlin and Russia. But there are all sorts of supply chain vulnerabilities. Finally, I think what's really important is the need for us to recognize that we have to build our defense capabilities. And I think what China has been able to do is take advantage of crises elsewhere to advance their interests through coercion in other places, whether it's bludgeoning Indian soldiers to death on the Himalayan frontier, or building islands and fortifying them in the South China Sea to control the ocean, or at least a part of the ocean through which 1/3 of the world's surface trade flows. So I think there are really clear lessons from Russia's reinvasion of Ukraine. But I think lesson maybe number 1 that is above all these is urgency.
Urgency, Nick. That's what he's saying. Urgency, McMaster right there. Just a few more little clips to run through just to kind of reinforce what we've been talking about.
But they're making good points.
Yeah. This one is another good one about the onboarding of what we need to do here.
I thought your testimony was very telling about the mistake we made as a country for the last 40 years and basically deindustrializing the nation.
Yeah.
Saying manufacturing didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
We could just have the MIT folks win the Nobel Prizes and somehow production was not relevant. We used to make 20% of the world's steel, down to 4%. China's making 57%. We used to make 37% of aluminum, down to 2%. China's at 57%. We used to make 36% of paper, down to 17%. China's at 30%. You can go industry by industry, and I commend your testimony. Rise of China resembles that of the United States a century ago. China basically incorporated many elements of Hamilton's formula. They copied, in part, what we invented. Do you agree that part of what is going to help us reindustrialize is having some government financing and government purchasing, that the government has to be a partner of the private sector in rebuilding American industry?
Congressman Khanna, thank you for your observations and appreciate the question. I think there is no doubt that the government has to be a partner in this. In a perfect world, the market would work and it would settle things out. We are not in that world, as the Chinese Communist Party has demonstrated. We have a market failure.
We have a major market failure going on, and proof of it continues. The last one that I have wanted to share with you comes from a Chinese dissident. This woman was there. She's lived through it, and she shares with us firsthand what really needs to be done and how we as a country, as the United States, can really help the Chinese people in particular.
I think what the U.S. government could help most for the Chinese people is to help fund programs that do research how to break down the Great Firewall. The Chinese Communist Party is afraid of its people most. If the Chinese people have access to internet, free flow of information, then they would know the truth. And the truth is powerful on its own. And the lies the Chinese Communist Party has built up over many decades crumble. And that will help the opposition forces to organize together.
Yeah, that's those are experts in the field testifying before United States Congress Tuesday night on that. Your thoughts, Nick?
Well, I think they make a lot of really good points, right? I mean, it's the benefit of having like the reserve currency in the world, that you can sort of outsource everything. It's like Britain's dilemma that they're actually talking about. But the downside is, of course, that, you know, because it's basically a Ponzi scheme, right? So when the Ponzi ends and the chickens come home to roost, right? Then you have sort of outsourced all your capabilities to your potential enemies, right? And that's the game that's being played right now.
Yeah, I do think that it's a very good point that America has, at least the United States, needs to bring some of that back onshore. We need to take care of our supply chain. It just makes sense. You know, I mean, why would you not in light of everything? All right.
And it is happening, right? The onshoring is happening, right? They are onshoring what is the chip manufacturer of Taiwan. They're onshoring that. Yeah. And of course, you got in Holland, it's actually a very important strategic area when it comes to ASML. Which is situated here and which is about 5 to 10 years ahead of chip manufacturers worldwide, right? So there's a lot of sort of push.
Yeah, you're right. And the U.S., I believe, with just the CHIPS Act that was recently passed here in the U.S., that's kind of like the first, I would say, initiative or salvo of taking private money with state money and kind of working that through in some way, shape, or form, at least for us in the U.S. And I think for a lot of folks, I go, oh, wait, government and private entity, but that actually it could work in a limited, regulated way, I believe.
But I think the semiconductor war is like at the center of all of this, right? Because it's basically it's the AI war, you know, that is sort of expressed in semiconductors, and that's also why you got all these wars in Ukraine, you know, where they have the neon gas to produce chips, and of course the tension.
Something else about Ukraine, if you notice and we'll get into it here in the documentary. We'll get into, but the Belt and Road Initiative. big part of it goes right through the middle of Ukraine. So, like, it's a highly contested for lots of reasons.
And the port of Rotterdam in Holland.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And Germany has a huge port there that's connected to the Belt and Road as well. So again, when we're talking about European dependence on foreign oil or energy or et cetera, when it comes to shit or get off the pot, perhaps Germany, Central Europe, might be more, because if you see these Belt and Road initiatives happening and all this stuff that we've talked about, which we'll get into, who are they going to go with, the West or?
Well, that's the interesting thing, right? Because Germany has to make an impossible choice, right? They have to either be destroyed by America or destroyed by Russia. So that, they can choose which team they be crushed with, right? So
yeah, exactly. Well, we've done a really good job, I think, setting this up. Let's roll the 5-minute little documentary we put together. It's just, again, looking at China's moves over the last 10 years and how they have really positioned themselves to bring down the U.S. hegemony politically, socially, and economically. So with that, we are proud to present the New China Syndrome.
The New China Syndrome. By 2049, Xi Jinping has serious goals for China and the world. The plan to end the U.S. hegemony. Over the past few decades, China has significantly expanded its reach economically, militarily, and socially, which has led to a shift in the global balance of power. Here's an overview of how China has expanded its influence in these areas compared to the West. Economic expansion. China's economy has experienced tremendous growth over the past few decades. Since implementing market-oriented reforms in the late 1970s, China's GDP has made it the world's second largest economy after the United States. China has also increased its economic influence through its Belt and Road Initiative, a massive infrastructure project that aims to connect Asia, Europe, and Africa through a network of roads, railways, ports, and other infrastructure. This project has helped China build closer economic ties with countries in these regions, and has also been seen by some as a way for China to expand its political influence. The project, also known as the One Belt One Road (OBOR) initiative, was first announced by Chinese President Xi Jinping in 2013 and has since become one of the largest infrastructure and investment projects in history. The Belt and Road Initiative is comprised of two parts: the Belt, which is a land-based route that connects China to Central Asia, Europe, and the Middle East, and the Road, which is a sea-based route that connects China to Southeast Asia, South Asia, Africa, and Europe. Together, these two routes cover more than 60 countries and encompass more than 60% of the world's population. The BRI has been criticized by some as a form of debt trap diplomacy, as China has been accused of using the initiative to trap other countries in debt and gain greater influence over them. As the initiative continues to expand, it is likely to have a significant impact on the global economy and geopolitical landscape in the years to come. Social expansion. China expanded its social influence through its promotion of Chinese culture and values. China has built a robust social media ecosystem that includes platforms such as WeChat and TikTok, which have become increasingly popular around the world. Military expansion. China's military has also grown in strength and capability over the past few decades. The country has invested heavily in modernizing its military, with a particular focus on developing advanced weapons systems, such as stealth fighters and aircraft carriers. Additionally, China has expanded its military presence beyond its borders, establishing military bases in Africa, the Middle East, and the Indian Ocean. China has been pushing its borders in the South China Sea by constructing artificial islands on top of reefs and other underwater features in the region. These man-made islands have allowed China to extend its territorial claims in the area and assert greater control over strategic waterways. The construction of these islands began in 2014, and since then, China has built several large installations, including runways, harbors, and military facilities. Some of these islands are now home to thousands of Chinese military personnel, and they have been used as bases for military operations, including missile tests and naval exercises. The South China Sea is a vital shipping route, with around a third of the world's shipping passing through its waters. The construction of these artificial islands has been condemned by many countries in the region, as well as by the international community. China has been actively purchasing farmland in the United States. There have been several reports that suggest that Chinese investment in U.S. farmland has been significant. For example, a 2019 report by the Midwest Center for Investigative Reporting found that China Chinese investors had acquired or invested in at least 191,000 acres of U.S. farmland between 2013 and 2018. It is important to note, however, that Chinese investment in U.S. farmland is just a small portion of the total amount of U.S. farmland. It is clear that Chinese investment in U.S. agriculture has been significant. However, this investment represents just a small fraction of the total amount of U.S. farmland. From a military standpoint, it is alarming that China now controls farms near critical military installations like Grand Forks Air Force Base in North Dakota and Laughlin Air Force Base in Texas. BRICS, an acronym that stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. It is a grouping of 5 major emerging economies from different regions of the world that share some common economic and political interests. BRICS countries represent a significant portion of the world's population, accounting for about 42% of the global population. They are also home to some of the world's fastest growing economies, with vast reserves of natural resources, skilled workforces, and a large consumer market. The group has held annual summits since 2009 to discuss issues of mutual interest and work towards common goals such as economic development, trade, and investment. Creating a BRICS reserve currency, a long-term project. Any common de-dollarization strategy would inevitably result in greater use of the Chinese renminbi, making the group more dependent on China's economic policies. BRICS debates expansion as Iran, Saudi Arabia seek entry. Saudi Arabia, the world's top oil producer, joining BRICS would have the backing of China, Brazil and India as the biggest consumers of oil in the world. Saudi Arabia open to trading in currencies besides the US dollar. China has called for Saudi Arabia to price oil sales in yuan, a move that could dent the dollar's dominance. During a visit to the Gulf, Chinese President Xi Jinping told Arab leaders that Beijing would push to buy oil and gas in yuan, as it looks to position its currency for use in international trade. China's expanding economic, military, and social influence has shifted the global balance of power and has challenged the dominance of the West. It is clear that China will continue to play a significant role on the global stage in the years to come. The real question is, what role will the United States play?
There you go. That is the question right there. What role will the U.S. play? And we heard the testimony from folks in Congress that they have been actually copying the U.S. Alexander Hamilton and our playbook, which really shouldn't be a surprise. That's what China does best, is they copy. So yeah, that's the nuts and bolts of it right there.
Well, that's a great documentary that you put together there, and very informative. And yeah, it's a rising power, right? I mean, that's what rising powers do. You can't really blame them for rising to power.
No, I mean the U.S. I mean, if you look at it from the other side, I mean the U.S. has all these bases around the world. I mean, if you look at where all the bases are, I mean, if you were like China, you're like, geez, hey guys, you're all up in our surrounding us. So I mean.
Yeah, well, that's of course also what Russia says, right? Imagine if what they are doing in the Ukraine happened in Mexico, right? How would the U.S. respond? So, that's okay, right? Go right ahead.
We don't have to worry about that because they're just coming across the border anyway. So we're just like, come on in, and we'll give you a cell phone and some education and food stamps. It's kidding.
It's just self-defense.
I'm kidding, kind of. So what? Should we show the video? I got kind of catfished this week. Should we just go out on this? I have it. If do you want to play it? I don't.
Yeah. Let's do it. This was a really good interview you did.
Do you want to roll the interview? All right. Just a lot of talk recently involving the United States economy decoupling from China, and is decoupling even something that we could remotely talk about right now, in your opinion?
Oh, I think so, definitely. It works so well for Chris Martin of Coldplay and Gwyneth Paltrow. He's on to somebody else already. He's dating the gal from 50 Shades of Grey, and I believe Gwyneth makes vagina cream. So it can be done.
Your thoughts in reaction to Chinese investors buying United States farmland and what that means for farmers?
Well, when it comes to the American farmer, it's always a great thing to discuss. And I think just having some Chinese farmers will be fun, especially at Farm Aid. I love John Mellencamp and Willie Nelson, of course, Neil Young, but I'd love to hear a Chinese guy sing a country hit.
Thoughts on China in general?
Well, I mean, you really cannot say enough about her athleticism. She was one of the first intercontinental champions, I think, of the WWF. For me, I think it's WWE now. We cannot talk about female wrestling without putting her in the conversation. She's really a true champion, a people's champion, a People's Republic of China champion.
Yeah, I got catfished by a guy named Robert J. Malakis. So the guy on LinkedIn said he was a China expert. He DM'd me in my LinkedIn. He's like, "Oh, I know about China. I can talk about China." I'm like, "Well, great. Let's set up an interview." And I don't think that guy's even been to a Panda Express. Okay, I mean, he clearly does not know what he's talking about.
Well, he knows China, but I don't know which one.
Exactly. He should have put that in his LinkedIn bio, not the country. Oh my gosh. Well, all right. You know what? Thanks everybody for joining us here for another episode number 2 in the can, Beyond the Block, around the world and around the web. Thank you for joining us again, the Bitcoin Live family of course, Styled Pigeon and Purple Suede 22, Gingerly Sundays at 6 p.m. Central European time. Bitcoin is freedom and Bitcoin is politics. Thursdays, 8 p.m. Central European time with the lovely and talented Paul McNeil. And don't forget 3D Changes Perspectives. They're like an hour before us, right? 5 p.m. Central Eastern time on Sundays. And I believe tomorrow, Nick, you've got some interviews coming up as well. What do you got coming up?
Yeah, I got a special interview with an NFT artist from AVEX called Tank. I think he's from Turkey. So, we'll probably also talk about the situation there, which is really... there's a lot of stuff also going on in Turkey at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. But I love this show, right? I love how you put it together. I love all the shorts. And, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
It's a team effort. And I'm just happy to be here, part of the Bitcoin Live family. And again, I feel like I got to say, like, smash the like button and hit subscribe, or it's not like an official YouTube video.
But we're streaming live on YouTube as well, right?
Yeah.
So for people who want to watch there, please hit the like button and share it with your friends and family. And this show's just getting started. We're just getting on the road.
We're just figuring this thing out. We're just pressing buttons. Live stream Sunday from the guest bedroom right here. Have some coffee. We'll do it in our PJs and have some fun. Man, I can't thank you enough. Nick Diamond Jr., my man. Thank you.
You're the master.
Live. We will see you tomorrow, Bitcoin Live, with the interview. What time is that again?
That's at 8 o'clock CET. So okay. I think that's 6 hours earlier in America. Something like that.
Ken's log, Planet Orange, Purple Ring, Planet Orange, Purple Ring, Planet Orange, Purple Ring. Ken's log, my man, thank you.
Shall I play a Yusko video?
Yeah, play the Yusko video. Play us out, Nick.
Okay, here we go. Take care.
And just one parting thought. The best financial advice I can give you is whatever you do not listen to Matty Sats.